What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and build a couple of Dutch buckets, but I'm going to do it out of the spare parts that I've got kicking around. I think I've got enough spare parts to pull off a couple of them, and I want to say a huge thank you to MPHGardener and to MeanShoes. You guys have some awesome Dutch bucket systems, very inspiring. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to start by drilling a hole in the side of my bucket. I don't have any of those grommets, so I'm just going to use a coupler on either side with a couple of washers that I got kicking around. Found the right size bit. Seems to be 20 mil for half-inch coupler. And basically I just need to figure out how far up the bucket I'm going to put this and punch it through. Now this is just a test run, so I'm not too terribly worried about my location here. Let's just get this in. And I'm through. Clean up these edges a little bit. Actually, they feel pretty good. Let's see how that fits. Just as I had hoped, that's an excellent fit. I'm just going to go ahead and screw that through and attach the matching piece on the inside, also with one of these little washers. These are for hose connectors, stop leaky garden hoses. Get right back to you. Well, all my assorted pieces seem to fit together well. Obviously, I don't need a corner piece there. I just happen to have two of them, so I'm going to use them. And then I'll connect that to a drain line, but first things first, I want to clean out this bucket and check and make sure that doesn't leak too bad. Hosed off the outside of that bucket while I was at it. Seems to be draining to a reasonable point. Can't say that I see any excessive leaking on there. It all just looks like drips from being sprayed off. Guess I'll know for sure when I put it in the greenhouse. You know, obviously I could have done a better job, but this is about testing theories. And like I say, if you want to see how to build one of these things, check out MeanShoes and MPHGardener. Wow. Alright, this is the bit where the creativity comes in. I don't have any painter's meshes or paint sieves or any of that stuff, and I need to find some way to hold the plant. I don't want to fill the bucket with those pebbles, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my planters from the dollar store, drill a few extra drainage holes in them, pop them in the bucket, and see how that does. I've gone ahead and drilled a bunch of extra holes in the bottom of that. I suspect those 4 holes probably would have been drainage enough though. It's not like I'm going to be powering a whole river of water through these things at any given moment. So we'll plunk it in the top here. And check the rate of water flow through that. Well, it's safe to say this garden hose is going way faster than anything coming off my pump will ever be doing. Overflow into the bucket seems to be going just fine. Maintaining a very consistent level here. I'm going to say this works well enough to go ahead and make the second one. Set them up in the greenhouse. Okay, here's where we sit now. My buckets are sort of in place. And I've hooked up some 1-inch pipe with a couple of fixtures for them to just drain into. And that's just going to drop into the corner of my fish tank. And all should be well and good. This next step is going to be the fun part. I get to reroute my plumbing so I can hook this in and run it all off that same little pump. I gotta say, that money was well spent. I gotta tell you, doing all this, nice hot day in the greenhouse, fella can get really thirsty. Cheers. Something of a tribute there. Once again, I'm going to say a huge thank you to the guys at MPHGardener, and of course, down there on the coast, Mr. MeanShoes himself. Alright, once I get a little more hydrated, I'm going to put that plumbing system together. So to recap what I did while the camera was turned off, I have taken some fixtures out of here because they really weren't needed.
I have strung the pipe all along the back, slipped my 1/2 inch irrigation pipe through some 1 inch that I've screwed to the support structure, because I'm tired of my pipe falling down all the time, and brought it around and through another 1 inch piece, and I've got it dumping into here. Now I don't have the proper, you know, X 2 per gallon or 5 per gallon or whatever pieces, so I've got an end cap on this one that I've just drilled a little hole in, and the rest of it's going to overflow into here, and that's just how this is going to have to work. I got one more piece to put back on. There, it's been feeding my Greek oregano, and then we'll fire this up. Well, now that I've got it running, I seem to have way more water coming through this one pipe than ever before. So I'm going to have to get a ball valve to go right there or right there. But otherwise, I've got water coming out the corner with a ball valve to control the flow. Coming out in the middle, feed the oregano. Ball valve over there. Hanging around. And it ain't pretty, but that works. So the next thing this system gets, I guess, is some clay pellets and a couple of plants. Cool. So now the question of what plants to put in there. I grabbed 2 out of that jungle that I call a raft bed there. One is this happy little basil cutting, because it's just a cutting. If it dies, no big deal. And the other is this volunteer squash that I found in the compost. I think it's probably an acorn squash. Hopefully now I'll get to find out. Well, there you go. My cheesy little version of adding Dutch buckets to my aquaponic system. But from everything I've seen, it'll be so worth going about it and getting the proper parts, and I'm gonna do this whole table, I think. Possibly even this one. Well, that's it. I need to have a drink of water and get out of this greenhouse, so thanks for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day.